Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It's been, I don't know what to say about this week. I have mixed feelings about it, but I'm still thankful and grateful, and particularly thankful and grateful that you're here listening to Intellectual Radio, Voices of Change. I hope you're sitting here and get on the phone and call someone and tell them, you know what, tune in to Intellectual Radio, Voices of Change. It's back on. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been on. I've been busy and tied up with work stuff, but hopefully things will get back to normal relatively soon. As we continue the spirit of gratitude off the heels of Thanksgiving, we must reflect on things that are happening all around us. We have a new administration coming into office in January, and the social ills of our communities persist. And we continue to take life for granted and take so much for granted. Along with all this happiness that we're enjoying right now, we're surrounded also with sadness. I just found out a couple, I just found out yesterday that someone who I knew from the church and the music industry in Chicago has passed on. So, deepest condolences goes out to the family of Jabal Preston. I met Jabal through music and church, both with the Sears Choir and often seeing him at my home church, St. Agatha, playing with our minister of music, Dennis Smith. Dennis could always call him and he'd come and he'd play for special events. And he was one of the baddest drummers in the city. But what actually struck out about him for me was his love of God, his love of his family, and particularly the love he held for his wife. Man, that was really his queen. He will certainly be missed. I always start off with scripture. So today the scripture is from Thessalonians, and it's give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. This verse encourages us to give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. But it also follows two other directives. It's telling us that we should always rejoice and give thanks in all circumstances, and to also pray continually. For today's show, I'm kind of excited. I haven't been on for a while. Hey, hi, Matthew. I haven't been on for a while, so I've been missing everybody, but I've been so busy. But I have a special guest today, and I'm just excited about it because I was supposed to have a co-host. Most of you know Elliot Bell. He's a musician here too in Chicago, and he's a minister also. And he called me up at the last minute, the 12th hour, and said, Jan, I'm sorry, I got a funeral. So what can I say? Yeah, Elliot Bell, I'm calling you out. He was supposed to be on today. So I called this person at the last minute and said, hey, this person is a health educator all over Indianapolis. She goes to schools, she goes to events, she does health symposiums for organizations. So I said, well, wait, why don't I invite her here to do a health minute for me on the Intellectual Radio Voices of Change? And at the last minute, of course, she said yes. And I was so glad that she said yes. So I'm going to bring her on now so she can kind of share the show with me. She didn't know she was going to have co-hosting duties too, but that's what sisters do. Help me welcome to the stage, Miriam Makeba Oda.
Yes.
I know you didn't know. I know. Oh, come on. It's nothing. It's nothing being a co-host. It's really easy.
Being the youngest sister, you are really a bully.
I'm a bully. I thought your other one was.
Yeah, well, she's a bully too.
I'm just asking you to just, show your beautiful face and be on the stage with me. And, I'm just going to read a couple of news stories, and then we're going to go to our medical minute, because you know what? It's really critical now, because so many of us, as we are aging, you're over 35, you're over 40, you may be over 50 or older, chronic illnesses and different illnesses pop up. And there's one that I keep hearing about all the time, particularly people having it and not knowing it, which is really dangerous. And that's diabetes, particularly within our community. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I get over some of these news stories, I want you to kind of give us some feedback on that, just like you do all over Indianapolis. So thank you for gracing our stage.
Sure. Absolutely. My pleasure.
Going to start out with some news stories, and starting out in Oak Park, and most of you have probably been hearing it. It's been blasting on the news for the entire weekend. An Oak Park police officer was shot and killed Friday morning while responding to a report of a man with a gun leaving a bank. The suspect also was shot by police and has been taken into custody. Oak Park Police Chief Shatana Johnson said Detective Alan Reddens, 40 years old, had been with the Oak Park Police Department since May 2019. He was the first Oak Park police officer killed in the line of duty since 1938.
Mm.
He has a young child. He has I think, an adult child, and an extended family like the rest of us, and he will certainly be missed. Out of Birmingham, Alabama, this is a sad story too. An Alabama A&M football player who suffered a head injury during a game in October has died. Medrick Burnett, Jr., 20, was playing his first season as a linebacker with Alabama A&M University when he sustained a head injury during the annual Magic City Classic against in-state rivals Alabama State University. The coroner listed his official time of death as Wednesday evening. 20 years old and gone. Lately, it's been this week. It's been such a great week, and Thanksgiving was so wonderful. But it's kind of mixed because I've been hearing about things happening suddenly, and we just can't take anything or anyone for granted. We have to really reach out and tell those that we love them, and take the time to be with them. I've been reading on social media, and someone said, and I agree. Someone said, when that elder person passed, or it could be a parent, a grandparent, or whoever, seems like the family just falls apart because you don't get together anymore. And that's something that, like you, Makeba, being the youngest one in the family, or some of the other ones, we're going to have to pick up the mantle with that. And we're going to have to, intentionally try to get our families together, and not just during bad times, right? Right? I don't hear
Definitely.
any. Oh, you got yourself on mute. You're so bad. Okay, now this is out of Chicago. And, ironically, I was watching this game on Thursday. And I just watched the very last part of it because it was like, oh, man, the score's tied up. And I was like, oh, yes, or not tied. It was close. First, it was like 13. I think it was 13-23, and we were within 10. Then I think we scored another touchdown. It was 20-23. And I'm like, oh, God, I got to watch this. We're going to win this. Well, we didn't. And one of the outcomes of it, and this isn't the only reason why this guy lost his job. And you hate to hear about anybody who loses a job, but it wasn't the only reason. But I think this was like the icing on the cake. The Chicago Bears have fired head coach Matt Eberflus, according to NFL Network Tom Pelissero. It marks the first time the Bears have fired a head coach mid-season. Eberflus' in-season firing comes after a 6-game losing streak of embarrassing losses, including that Thanksgiving 23-20 defeat to the Detroit Lions, where Eberflus' clock mismanagement led to another one-score loss after he failed to use a team one remaining timeout and ran out of time. With Eberflus fired, offensive coordinator Thomas Brown will take over as interim head coach. Brown served as assistant head coach with the LA Rams from 21 to 22. Now, Makeba, turn on your sound because I want to ask you this question because I'd never heard of it. Have you ever heard of a lavender marriage?
No.
I didn't either. I'm like, okay, somebody was asking a question. I'm like, well, I could answer it, but I don't know what that means.
What is it?
A lavender marriage is a male-female mixed orientation marriage used as a marriage convenience to conceal the socially stigmatized sexual orientation of one or both partners. It's almost like a beard, like when you hear about a beard, someone marries somebody and they're the beard. That's exactly what it is. And originally, I mean, it's nothing new, but originally, people with status wanted to hide their sexuality. So they took on a wife so people wouldn't shun them like the Hollywood types. But now it's becoming more and more common in different vocations, like the clergy. Just say a clergy person happens to be orientated that way. And the congregation, they don't know how they may react to it. So they get a wife or husband. So they were saying, so the question is, The question was, well, what do you think about that? How can I think anything about it? I mean, I was like, I don't know. I didn't even know what it was. And knowing what it is, I guess people do whatever works for them, right? I don't know. So, but I thought it was interesting. A new concept, lavender marriage. And I think
Yeah.
they use the color lavender because at one time, the color lavender, that light purple, was associated with homosexuality. So,
Wow.
little
Learn
history,
something new every day.
a little history. Now we got to talk about a little bit about Donald Trump.
Oh,
Donald Trump owes his electoral victory to his campaign gains among Latino and Black voters, but the nominees for his historic second presidency largely reflect the overwhelmingly white makeup of Washington power. Thus far, Trump has nominated one Black American to his 16-member cabinet, Scott
mm.
Turner, for Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. He's also selected two Latino nominees. When Trump was elected in 2016, his cabinet included 19 white men, making it the least racially diverse group of the president's closest advisors and heads of institutional power in more than 40 years. At
Yeah,
that
he,
time,
he
at that time, he also appointed the one and only Black nominee to his cabinet. Remember Dr. Ben Carson. Like Turner, he was also tapped for housing secretary.
he did that intentionally.
Obviously, I mean, obviously, but it's
Very
just.
intentional about his white cabinet.
I wonder why housing though. I wonder why he always pops the black face in housing. Interesting.
Hmm. It is interesting.
Here we go. Last year's U.S. Supreme Court decision that effectively banned affirmative action in college admissions, though they focused on a different part of the Civil Rights Act, Title VII as it's known, protects job applicants and employees from discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. The complaints vary by company, but many of them boil down to the same argument that corporate efforts to hire more women or more people of color are de facto discrimination against white men. You hear this a lot. Then you have the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's like, okay, so what is DEI? It's just an organizational framework that promotes fair treatment and participation, full participation of all people, including groups that have been historically underrepresented, such as disabled people, people of color. That's what DEI is for. And as you know, just like everything else related to affirmative action and DEI or whatever, DEI is also scaling back. It was a big initiative at one point, somewhat big, where organizations were adopting it. Well, now they're scaling back. Some of the companies that have been scaling back against it, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, are Walmart. Mm, Wonder who their customer base is.
Hmm.
John Deere, Coors, Ford Motor Company, Lowe's, Harley Davidson, Brown Foreman, who's a maker of Jack Daniels. And we know who likes that brown liquor.
Mhm.
Tractor Supply Company and Toyota Motor Company.
Hmm.
I think it's interesting because one of my friends on Facebook, or maybe it was LinkedIn, on somewhere we were going back and forth about DEI and is it even something that's relevant to us as Black people? Is it really helping Black people? I mean, and you think about all those civil rights initiatives,
Hmm.
they obviously did help us, but they helped others too. A lot of others were kind of just, lined up on our back and people did all the work and other people got all the benefits. Not that we didn't benefit, because we did benefit, but not as much as some people may have thought that. Descendants of enslaved Africans face stark health disparities, which you're going to talk about one of them a little later, including higher rates of infant and maternal mortality, chronic disease, violent victimization, trauma, exposure, and serious psychological distress. These negative outcomes are the direct result of exploitative economic practices involved in the living racist legacies of slavery. Jim Crow, the Great Migration, zoning laws, redlining, and white flight. Different theories offer different accounts of economic and cultural oppression from the political economy of inequality to structural racism. The unjust result is that Black people today have less access to quality jobs,
Hmm.
housing, education, healthcare, transportation, public amenities, food, water, and air.
Mhm.
Historically segregated neighborhoods then face the structural violence of mass incarceration, police violence, and legal system discrimination, not to mention the deplorable environmental conditions in which toxic exposures, food deserts, neighborhood deprivation, and gun violence seem to be the norm for too many.
Mhm.
Now, you can psychoanalyze and you can, I don't know, hypnotize every white person in the United States until he comes out pure tomorrow morning, filled with the love of all Black people. But that will not provide jobs for
Hmm.
Blacks or build housing. This is why, in my opinion, and I'm getting on my horse because I haven't been on here before. In my opinion, we have to take collective action. Our focus should be on racial pride among Black people and economic self sufficiency.
Mhm. Mhm.
Our focus should be on having our own, creating those businesses, building generational wealth, and obtaining a trade or education to facilitate.
Yeah.
This ideology is birthed out of Black American shared reality, which has been shaped by oppressive systems created and maintained through slavery. Now, I'm not saying that everybody can just go out and open up a business and everybody can go to the bank and get a loan, and everybody can go to the bank and get a house. But these are things that we have to strive for. We have to strive for self sufficiency. When I was in a meeting, and this older gentleman that speaks at all these types of meetings, they were talking about one of our neighborhoods being a food desert. We don't have any grocery stores. We don't have any of this. He stood up and he said, I sit in these meetings all the time, and there's different ethnic groups other than Black people. And I never hear them whining, and he said whining, or some other word similar to whining, about food deserts because they're intentional about having their own and being self sufficient. When are we going to attempt to do that? And I know that we have so many strikes against us. We have the lending institutions, we have this, we have that. But it's definitely something that we have to strive for. We also have to strive, as I mentioned, for getting ourselves in a position to acquire this, like the trade
Mhm.
schools or education, whatever you plan to do to make money, you have to position yourself to do it. So, with that, we are going to take a quick break because I'm like tired of talking. And then we're going to have our medical minute with Miriam Makeba. So I think I'm going to play some music so we can listen to that, and I can drink some water, and we can. Yeah, this is a song, Simply Beautiful, for everyone. I know everyone's out shopping. It's 12 noon or 1 o'clock or whatever time, and everybody's out shopping, but hopefully you'll watch a rebroadcast. So that's why I'm not getting any hits. No one's making any comments. Come on, what's wrong with you? I'll say hello or something. Here we go with Dante Hall and Simply Beautiful. Makeba, thank you so much for being my co host today.
Absolutely. I didn't know I was going to be a co-host, but okay. You can come on anytime.
Well, I like to hear some of this.
Yes.
I'd expect a whole lot of love out of you.
I love his voice.
No, oh, girl, miss him so much.
Mm-hmm.
You got to treat me good, and I'll be good to you. There's a whole lot of things you and I could do, baby.
That voice, that voice, that voice. Okay, so this is our new segment. You're listening to Intellectual Radio Voices of Change with your host, Janice. And I also have special guest Miriam Makeba giving her medical moment. And we're going to talk now. Going to start off. I got some questions personally about this because you know how they always say, you have these other, what do they call them? Associated diseases, for lack of a better word. I'm not a medical person, so for lack of a better word, they have associated diseases and they always list like obesity and hypertension and, things like
Heart
that.
disease.
Heart disease, right. So are they saying, like they'll say hypertension, cigarette smoking, obesity, are they saying that if you have those ailments that you're more than likely to get diabetes? Or are they saying that if you have diabetes and have those other things, it's worse? What are they saying?
I think they're saying the latter. Diabetes is one of those things, like it is a chronic illness, like high blood pressure, like all those other that you just named. And when you have them, it's their comorbidities. They tend to, a lot of people that have diabetes tend to also have high blood pressure, tends to also have heart disease, tends to also, so it kind of all goes
together then. Because I think a lot of times, in my opinion, when you go to the doctor, they automatically think if you're overweight that you have. That's why I was asking. That's why I was wondering if they automatically.
Sometimes people are thin and have diabetes, so that's not necessarily true. But when you are obese, sometimes you are more susceptible to getting diabetes. If that makes any sense.
Okay.
The normal person's body makes insulin. Person with diabetes body doesn't make insulin. So that's why there's sugar in their system, and that's why they call it sugar. It's called a silent killer because most people have diabetes and they don't even know it.
They don't have any. That's what I wanted to talk about because I've had a few friends, particularly recently in the past several months, that have had. One of my friends had it to the point where I guess he didn't know it, and he almost went into a coma with it. His blood sugar was extremely high.
Yeah.
So you don't have you may not have no symptoms.
Asymptomatic. You are
Oh.
So I don't know if you remember Uncle Willie.
Yes, absolutely.
Uncle Willie found out he got diabetes, and his blood sugar was like 1200.
Oh.
He went to the doctor. He went to the hospital because he passed out. It was like it just went super, super high. Ended up finding out that he had diabetes.
But don't they say that? This is what don't they say that you have like thirsty and what else?
Yeah, but some of it you don't even recognize. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we are thirsty, right? But you're absolutely correct. You tend to have more symptoms when you're diabetic. You go to the bathroom more frequently. So that means you urinate more. You're hot. You're hungry. Or you're super drained. I'm just so tired. I have no energy. Those are sorts of things that happen to people that have diabetes. But they can also happen to you and me too. And you would never know that you have diabetes, right? Sometimes it's genetic. Like it's in the genes. Mama, daddy has it. I'm overweight. Overweight is a symptom of type 2 diabetes.
Being overweight?
So being overweight or having the CDC at one point were saying if your waist circumference is larger than 38 inches and you're a female, then that means that I'm giving you a number. I don't know what the exact number was at that point in time. But yeah, they're saying that the circumference of your waist can indicate you having diabetes. Think about it. Your kidneys, your liver, all that stuff is down right here. Right? Yeah. All right. So you're packing it on.
Yeah, but don't after, you can always kind of tell the age of a man by his stomach sometimes. So don't men like generally after 35 or 40 get a stomach?
Yeah, but it seems like when they turn 40, have you noticed that I don't know if they go to the doctor, because that's one thing that you can't be diagnosed if you haven't gone to the doctor, right? But if you go to the doctor on a regular basis, your stomach is
Oh,
getting bigger and it's getting tighter, and it's just like, wow, now I'm 50 and I have diabetes.
and that's probably why these weight loss medications are so prevalent out here, because being overweight can cause all these other things.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
even though the weight loss meds may have issues too, they're not a panacea, but you got to weigh it.
Yeah, and
Losing
it's
50
the
pounds, yeah.
people that are overweight. Just because you're overweight doesn't mean you have diabetes. Okay, so let's be clear.
True, true, true,
Just because you're overweight doesn't mean that you have diabetes, right?
true.
But sometimes being overweight you can get diabetes because of that. And you're right. People that are I know somebody that wants to use Ozempic or whatever. There are lots of different meds out there. They want to use these meds and they're not diabetic.
Yeah, I have a lot of those
Those
friends too.
those
Yeah.
those meds are very expensive. And it's funny because most insurances don't cover those.
But don't you think it's being proactive if I'm overweight and I know as I get older and I know I may have a family history, wouldn't it be proactive to use one of those kind of weight loss to preempt it because you don't want
My
to get
my thing is I would use it. I wouldn't use it unless I were diabetic. And
really?
that's my personal opinion. There are things that you can do if there is a family history of diabetes. You can start going to the gym and losing weight. You can definitely go to the doctor once a year, get a lipid panel, make sure you do an A1C, a hemoglobin A1C is just a blood test that they do, and it takes the average of your blood sugar for 90 days.
Okay.
Okay. So you can tell if it's high, low, peaks, valley, etc. And that's usually a good determinant factor of if you are, I mean, if your A1C is 7.4 and you've never been diagnosed with diabetes, well, baby, here's your present. You are now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, I mean, it is what it is. But you can start eating right. Eating is everything. Eating to a
Mhm.
diabetic is the key. It's everything. I don't know if you remember, mom and dad were both diabetic and they both ate very well. And that's probably why they lived as long as they did.
Hmm.
With diabetes, it affects all systems. Clearly, your gastrointestinal system. It affects every system that we have.
Wow.
So that's why it's so very important to get it under control. So eating is a key factor when you're diabetic. We shouldn't say you shouldn't eat, but we're also saying that you are already sweet enough, so you shouldn't add sugar. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Hmm.
So don't drink regular Cokes. I'm not saying Diet Cokes are better because they're not. Okay.
No.
Sodas are sodas are sodas. But I'm saying that don't eat so many sweets. Make sure you go to the doctor on a regular basis. If you are diabetic, test your blood sugar. How do you know if you're high or how do you know if you're low? I tell people all the time, especially when you're new with diabetes, test it often. Because that way you'll know, well, I'm feeling this kind of way. What's my number? Like
Mhm.
I've got like one of these like watches and it tells me, oh, beep, 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 we're detecting that your blood sugar is low. I
They got a
need
diabetic watch?
I need that because I tend to forget to eat. I
Wait,
take
now hold it now, hold it now, hold it now. Tell me about this watch. Where you get this watch from?
It's not a watch, it's an app
Oh.
that you can get on your watch.
And it takes it through your skin? I mean through your
No,
wrist?
but they can like because like a Fitbit, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so if you I downloaded this app on my watch, and it's been right. It's called Simple, Simple. It costs a little bit of money, but it tracks things. It's almost like a Weight Watchers thing. You have to everything you put in your mouth, you have to document. Okay.
Wow.
And you tell them what elements you have. So I have high blood pressure and I have diabetes. And so I told them how much I weighed. I did all this stuff in it. And then all of a sudden, one day I got this alert saying, deep, 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 your blood sugar is going down slowly. And I looked at the time and I'm like, it's 11 o'clock and I didn't eat anything. Oops.
Oh,
So then,
oh, I see. Okay.
so then it says your blood sugar is going back to normal. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know
So
that. That's kind of cool.
it is very cool. There are lots of things out there that you can look to monitor those sorts of things. But what I was saying is you have to monitor often so that you know your peaks and valleys. Like monitor as soon as you wake up in the morning, but then if you go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, monitor your blood sugar then. So you get to know kind of what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, and what's average for you.
And how it's affecting your body.
And how it's affecting your body. Our vision goes with diabetes. We get diabetic neuropathy. You get pins and needles in your feet. I mean, it's just, this disease is no joke for sure. This disease is no joke for sure. People get on dialysis because they have renal issues. I mean, like it's no joke. It really breaks your systems down. And it's all because a person with diabetes does not create natural insulin like normal people do. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So your food turns into sugar.
Wow.
And that's why you have sugar in your system and it's in your bloodstream. But as far as like there is no cure. It's a chronic condition. It's something you have to live with for the rest of your life, unfortunately.
So wait now, because people always think, well, I may have this now, but if I do everything I need to do and blah, 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 then I can have medicine reduce and get off it. So you're not going to get off it.
No, diabetes. I'm going to just be 100 with you. I'm a controlled diabetic. My A1C is under 7. I am very controlled. I am doing what I should do. I'm eating right. I go to the doctor every 3 months. I take my blood sugar on a regular basis. I try to have a good balance as far as eating is concerned, even for like Thanksgiving. Like most people put piles on their plate. I sample everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I take small portions of stuff and I have to pace myself because my body does not break down foods the way your body does. Okay. Mm-hmm. So just, you got to be more responsible with how you eat so that you don't go to 11, 12, 13, 14. Sometimes it gets so high. You have to be on insulin. You have to be on Ozempic. I mean, like you're on 6 or 7 blood sugar medications and your blood sugar is still high.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So it's really important that you take your medicine as prescribed. Like if it says, oh, I got to take Ozempic. If you take Ozempic on Tuesday, you take it once a week. Take Ozempic on Tuesday. Then Tuesday at 9 o'clock, every Tuesday at 9 o'clock, set an alarm and take that Ozempic. Like
the same
your
time.
Body is, yeah. And that's with any meds. You have to be time conscientious of it. They also say stay hydrated. They also say if you have different elements, like you smoke, stop.
Really? Smoking affects it. Well, smoking affects your body negatively anyway. But smoking affects.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. There are lots of different things. But like I said, eating right, eating balanced meals, eating small meals a day, that's what we should do as diabetics. When I say we, I'm saying me. Eat small meals. There's nothing wrong with eating. Mm-hmm. I think you have to eat. Our body needs fuel, but don't overeat. And with my medicine that I'm taking, Rybelsus, I'm not really hungry. That's why I have to put those reminders up to remind me to eat.
And that's why people are trying to lose weight when they get it, so they won't eat. But so you don't agree with people who don't have diabetic to?
I don't. I don't. And you know what? Because, our society is so greedy. When we see that people are losing weight, then they want to jump on the bandwagon. And that's why it's so expensive. Have you ever, like the medicine that I take is called Rybelsus. Do you know how much it takes without insurance? My one pill a day, and it's 7 milligrams of that pill, is almost more than $1,000 without insurance.
Well, that's how much Ozempic costs, and that's how much.
But that's ridiculous. But that's what happens. And that's what I mean by greedy. Because they know it works for other things. People are taking them. And so they can hike those prices up.
Oh, supply and demand.
Supply and demand. There's a need for it now. Diabetics need it. Fat people need it. People that want to be thinner need it. Everybody needs it. So it makes it very high demand for sure.
Yeah, I just think that anybody that's over, I mean, I agree with you. If you're 25 pounds overweight, then you can go to the gym. But if you're like 50 pounds overweight and you need help, and you
also want to look at those side effects, Janice. Ozempic has, I don't know if you ever do TikTok, and I'm sure you do. But this one girl said, well, I took Ozempic because I was overweight, right?
Right.
But now I've got an Ozempic booty, and it wasn't cute.
An Ozempic booty? I've never heard of that.
Oh my goodness. Look it up on TikTok.
Oh, okay.
It's
like that. No. Wait.
And I think it's because she took it because she wasn't supposed to. She was taking it because she knows she could lose weight with it, but she wasn't diabetic.
Well, yeah. And they have something called tirzepatide or something like that.
You said something about that before.
And that's made from Lilly, and that's actually for people. It's similar to Ozempic, but it has a GLP and it has a GIP. So it has, and you lose weight. You lose like 30% of your weight. Mm-hmm. But interesting. But it's like everything, like all medicine. Every medicine has a side effect.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
That's true.
You have to kind of weigh. I don't know. A lot of that stuff.
It's worth doing some research on it. The problem is people, just like the drug industries, people get greedy too. Oh, I lost 10 pounds. Let me take it a little longer. I can lose 20 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, I can lose 50 pounds.
It is. Yeah, it's probably better to do it naturally.
Just like the weight loss drug, if you just take it to lose that weight, that's fine. The problem is when you're done taking it, then the minute you eat food,
you're gonna get yes. Now, see, that's the only thing that kind of makes me think twice, because from what they tell me, you're gonna be on it forever. I mean, or even maintenance, just to keep the weight, Mm-hmm. But anyway.
Even if it's lower dosages, yeah.
So, do you think? Does diabetes affect Black people at a higher proportion than it does other races?
Well, I will tell you, the CDC did a lot of stuff, especially, I guess they were kind of bored. So it was right before COVID-ish era. So like 2019, they were saying that African Americans were 2.3 times higher rates of other races of getting diagnosed by a doctor. And that made me feel good, because I'm like, you mean we go to the doctor? The other thing
is being diagnosed with it, or being diagnosed by a doctor?
Diagnosed by a doctor. 3.2 times
2.3
more.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that was in 2019. They also said that 3.2 times more, African Americans are 3.2 times more likely to get diagnosed with the end stage of renal failure. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know, diabetes is one thing, right? Yeah. But when it becomes the end stage renal failure, then that's bringing in a whole nother issue. So that's
almost like it hasn't been treated, or it hasn't been.
Yeah, that means it hasn't been treated. Like, I know people, when I used to work at a diabetic clinic, people would come in there. They said that they were tired. They said that they were dizzy. They just, blood sugar, their A1C was like 12 point, who knows, which means that it's that's like an average of 200 plus every minute, every second of the day for 90 days.
Oh, Jesus.
So your blood sugar should be right around, I guess, a little under 100 would be average or normal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So 200, twice that amount. Again, mine is usually right about 7, which means that my blood sugar is anywhere about 120. Mm-hmm. I'm controlled, but I still have diabetes. Right. A lot of people, if you do right, I need to lose my mush. I've got a mush. And I
Mhm.
also have to, I mean, I'm starting to go to the gym now. So I am starting to
Oh no,
work out.
you're encouraging me again. I'm like, okay.
I mean, I feel so much better. It's like, woo, I got energy again.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
um,
it does affect us more, which is
it
unfortunate.
does. It does. It
Everything
does.
affected more. Okay.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and it also says that African Americans are 2.5 times more likely to get hospitalized for complications with diabetes.
I believe that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You go to the doctor, you know, they cut one leg off. 2 years
Oh,
later, they cut the other leg off.
yeah. You're
I
right.
mean,
You're
they
right.
cut on us a lot more, I think, than they cut on other people, but
They seem to want to cut on us a lot faster too, don't they?
they
I
do.
mean,
They do. I had a friend that had a dad that was diabetic, did not have a hot, his A1C was, I don't know, 10 maybe. I had, and he was white. He had a really bad thing on his toe. I thought it was going to get taken off. They
mhm.
cleaned that, they wound back that, they made that happen. I had a black friend that had an A1C of 8.5,
Oh, lower, a lot lower.
a lot lower. Had his toe, same thing. And I'm like, oh man, they're going to cut it off. And guess what? They cut it off.
They didn't clean it up.
It went from
Yeah.
one toe, and then the other little toe, and then they're just chopping away until it's all going to come off.
There's actually been studies done that has proven that they chop us at a faster rate than other
They
rates.
do. And I don't know
You know,
why. I don't know why. Like some of the stuff that I saw, like I saw this guy's foot genus. I wish I could show you. It looked like he had MRSA, he had all this stuff, and he had this big canker sore on his foot.
what is MRSA like? Staph?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's fine now. They let it heal. Isn't that funny? Now
okay.
our black counterpart, it didn't happen that way. And again, I'm not trying to do the race card, but
I always
I
do the
do
race card because this
I
race
think
is
they come
real.
on us more. I do. I do. You know, there's also, you know, problems with vision. I don't know if people sometimes when they have diabetes and they don't even realize it, sometimes they notice that they get blurred vision or they have problems with vision or their vision starts to get bad.
Yep.
The sign, I don't know if you remember daddy's vision got
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
towards the end and then he lost his vision. But yeah, that's a lot of stuff that happens. Sometimes if you have GI issues to begin with, like I have GI issues, upper GI issues.
Is that the medication though from the diabetic medication? Because Ozempic also gives people GI issues. So
Yeah,
I'm
it
thinking is
does.
the medication.
Sometimes it makes them constipated. I used to take Ozempic.
Hmm.
Of course, my insurance doesn't pay for it anymore.
They don't
That's
pay for people that got normally they don't pay for people that don't have diabetes.
right. Well,
They
I
would,
have diabetes, but see, I think
but
sometimes they think I don't because my A1C fluctuates. Sometimes it's 6.5.
they
Sometimes
can't
it's
go by. Oh, they're going by your medical records. Oh, that sucks.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, I'm fat. I'm telling you, and I'm diabetic. I can tell you, like, but yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, what would you tell? I don't know. What would you advise a person who is relatively healthy, but they're relatively healthy. They don't have diabetes. They're thinking about maybe the weight loss drugs or something. Would you just tell them to take their butt to the gym and eat better?
Well, I
Because
mean, like,
people want to preempt it. Okay, I know that I'm overweight, right? So what I want to do is you don't want to wait till something happens.
yeah,
But if you
yeah.
continue in this state of being overweight, the illnesses are going to come. I mean,
And
you know what I
you
mean?
know what I would say to people is, and people don't understand this. It's simple math, and that's why I got that app called
Math.
Simple. By the
I
way,
love math. Okay.
it's simple math. you can't, the reason that I feel like you and I are overweight is because we have jobs where we sit
all the time.
I'm just telling the truth.
We do.
If we would get up.
Oh, here we go. No, she didn't.
And move, your quality of life would improve tremendously. Like you would feel better just walking a mile a day in the morning. Start your day by walking. I'm not saying you got to pump and do all the rowing machine like I did today and my butt hurts and it's horrible, but I'm not saying all that. I'm saying do something. Because when you do nothing, you feel it. It's harder to get up. You get more stiff.
Yes.
Your body gets bigger. All of those things happen. So I'm not saying it's good for everybody, but I'm saying that if you could commit to 15 minutes every day moving, and you could build your way up to 10,000 steps, believe it or not, 10,000 steps, you'll lose weight. You're probably not going to be eating as much. You're hopefully going to hydrate. I mean, there are a lot of ingredients that go along with it. If I thought somebody was relatively healthy, I mean, like there are all kinds of issues. People could have pinched nerves. People could have high blood pressure. I mean, there's lots of things going on. So I can't just say what happens. But for you and me, we need to walk.
Yeah, we need to move, right? Get off our butt. Get up off.
Yeah. Moving is the key. If you want to stay active and if you want to stay youthful, you have to move. And I'm not saying you need to, my app tells me I need to move 90 minutes every day.
Your app tells you how much to move? What kind of girl? You guys send me this app stuff. Good Lord.
I will.
Well,
but my app tells me, and sometimes I do 120 minutes. It just depends. If I have a really good day where I'm moving around a lot at work, which usually
120 minutes. Wait. How do you do that working all those hours? How you got 120 minutes to move?
Because I'm helping people and I'm doing stuff for other people. So like if I'm moving around.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It calculates me going to the grocery store. It calculates anytime I'm using Mike and Ike, my feet. It calculates it every step. So, like I said, but you also have to have an Apple Watch because that way it could monitor your heart rate. And you have to, yes, everything you put in your mouth, you have to document. Like I just drink water. When I'm done with this water, I'll document 16.9 ounces of water. The goal is to have at least 70 ounces of water each and every day. Usually I supersede that, which is good.
Okay.
Our body is made up of what, 70% water?
What are we going to have a medical minute on next time? Nutrition or something?
Oh,
since
God.
I'm getting this lecture about moving and nutrition.
How about just physical activity, moving? And Janice, there are things called chair yoga. Chair yoga. Girl, you stretch.
I don't want to do no chair yoga. I want to get up. Come on now. I'm not at the chair yoga yet now, boo. Okay.
But Janice, people lose weight
doing chair yoga,
they lose their stomach, especially if you do it the way they say, and they're talking 10 minutes a day.
Okay.
YouTube it, chair yoga. We all need to move. We need to move.
Girl, once a cheerleader, always a cheerleader, Makeba. You
Some things never change, right?
Some things never change, okay?
I wish I had my little cheerleading body.
You and me both. Oh my God. But I was never as small as you. I think you were 105 pounds and said, my thighs are big.
Yeah, I did. I was really sick with it. And now I'm a lot more than that.
Yeah. Well, we can, it's been several years and we both are, but grateful that we're changing our whole mindset, not waiting to New Year's, but changing our mindset now to do something about it. And I want to thank you so much for, coming on the show at the last minute, 12th hour. And thanks to Elliot for not coming because I'm so glad.
Elliot, I love you. Good luck.
Yeah. So, oh, Elliot's moved now. He's no longer a West Sider. He's a South Sider now. So I think I'm gonna have to dump him.
Outside. Oh my God, you said you think you're gonna have to dump him. I love it. Oh, I love my Elliot.
Anywho, okay, so I will let you go. And I'm also, the listening audience, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it so much. I even appreciate you listening because on a Saturday, sunshiny afternoon in Chicago, I'm sure everyone is
It's sunshiny
shopping.
here in Avon, Indiana.
Oh yeah, so you got sunshine there too. So yeah, so when I get off, I'll probably go shopping like the rest of them. But thank you so
Janice,
much
you
for
know
tuning
what?
in.
Shopping is wonderful exercise. You're moving.
And think about it when we were kids, how much that's all we did. That outlet mall across the street,
That's what I'm
which was
saying.
miles long.
That's what I'm saying. We gotta move. I don't care if it's shopping. I don't care if it's grocery store. I don't care if it's cleaning.
Just move.
Every single day we have to move. That's how you stop and prevent stiffness.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on again. And to all my listening audience, next week I'm going to try to get Khalid back here. I don't know how his
Oh, I
schedule. He's so
love
busy.
Khalid.
He's
He's
so
the
busy, man.
best.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to get him back next week. And I am still going to be talking about, I wanted to do one Saturday out of the month, an evangelism show
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
for the church. So that's
Yes.
what I had been talking to my pastor about. So I still want to get that off the ground sooner or later. But I'm just hoping that the city budget, when all this is clear, I'll have more time. So anyway, appreciate you all. You guys have a blessed week. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Again, don't take each other for granted. Tell the ones that you love them. Be blessed. See you next week.